When white power ruled, we were schooled in discipline. Was it an accident you heard of George Patton, George Washington, George Custer, George of the jungle, fighting men to model? My activated spiritual connection has proven we live a Jesuit globe earth lie, but the world only laugh. Step in time. 1,000 years in the pit for Satan means Satan had a lot of time to work out the details of where we are in the world today. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Do not let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Let's look at the disclaimer real quick. So there's a disclaimer. Look at that. I'm going to give advice on medicine. I'm going to give advice on finances and the Bible, but it's from a Christian point of view. You If you want to be part of this world, if you want to be on YouTube, you got to recognize I'm the minority. You should not, you should check it out for yourself. The actual pictures should be good. I made some pictures. I took some pictures. I got some screenshots to show you. 1.331 miles is 1,007. That's like a Bible verse. It's 0.533s of a kilometer. 1,700 feet equals 583.333 repeating. PFAS, plastics that are infecting the brains and making people sick. A lot of people think they're in these things. They cause kidney, prostate, testicular cancer, ulcerative colitis, thyroid disease, suboptimal antibody response, and slash decreased immunity. PFAS have been regulated everywhere else around the world, but not taken that seriously in the United States. And I think they're paying a price now because they don't want to buy our rice or our wheat or corn. Some countries don't. Hey, remember that rock I had those nails in? I was trying to force it open. I finally got out gave it a little love tap, and it did. It split right down the middle where that crack was. I thought it was, you know, an eyeball was my conjecture. I think the rocks are all body parts. It's got a thin coat of spray olive oil on it just to give it some illumination here. They all do. That's another eyeball I tried to crack long ways, couldn't do it. It's too hard. These, I think, where the muscles were attached. There's pull the eye 6 different ways. You go, eyeball. So I cracked it the other way in half. Did I get a better picture? No. Anyway, I found this rock, washed it off with some caustic. It looks to me like this is the muscle outline of a bladder. We'll get another look at it. This one's been treated with strong hydrogen peroxide. I wanted to just bring out the vein work a little bit, scratch the surface. Not a good picture. Don't worry, there it is. You remember this rock? these are the two nodes or something in your optic nerve. Well, I just keep soaking it. I'm being patient. I'm letting it wear down all of that really hard myelin sheath that's over it. But the best views yet of whatever these are, I think it's electric wiring for your eyeballs. Oh my goodness, this was exciting. It is exciting. Here it is on the other side. This is right there in your noggin, right there by your pineal gland. Here's that one that I think was a bladder and the muscles around it that squeeze it so that when you squeeze it, you try to get the last drops out. So I use some hydrochloric acid and some strong H2O2, and it just took it right down to the bladder, I believe. You can get sucked into thinking there's something on the inside of these, but it's mostly just gonna be a urine thing. Here's that other rock I wanted to bring out. I think I got some better ones. Look at this one here. What's starting to come out here? Anyway, this is gonna be about Epstein and stuff too. You know that this guy, Maynard Keyes, he was so smart that in a time that they didn't have gay power, they didn't have gay pride, they had gay blackmail. He was allowed to be a homosexual because he was the only economic person that could figure it out. Way to go, Maynard. But former President Nixon quickly quelled all fears as he informed the American public that the warship from France was simply here to make one last exchange of US dollars for gold. And that all happened, in 1971. And you know what happened? This was the last exchange. See where the little hand is? Of US dollars for gold through an official government entity, now officially making the US dollar an inflationary fiat currency. Now, under the gold standard, the response to crises such as COVID or the 2008 bank bailout would have been much different. We don't know that. Everybody wants to, it's kind of like, if we could just go back to this, everything would be great. We don't know that, but we do know this is history. They sent a warship. It was a bold move reminiscent of gunboat diplomacy. In August of 1971, France sent a battleship to pick up our gold. And they said, you know what? We've been complaining about your petrodollars since 1946. And now we want our gold back. It was a clear statement echoing the sentiments of Charles de Gaulle, who was no friend of the United States once he saw what happened. He was up on it. He knew they faked the atomic bomb. He was in on it. He knew it. And the United States was getting the better deal. And he fought it until 1971. Then he went over there and said, give me my gold back, man. Not Charles de Gaulle, but Papineau, Papa Pompidou. That guy. While the US dollar continues to reign as the global reserve currency, really, fissures in the system are becoming increasingly apparent. Questions loom over how long countries like China and Japan will continue to fund the United States' yearly deficits, as the Federal Reserve policy of near zero interest rates nears its end, the specter of financing nearly 17 trillion. Uh-oh. Well, it's double that now. And they were worried about it then. I was worried about it then. It was the Bretton Woods system. Pegged to gold. Oh no, now we've been exposed. How long does it take? Well, about 40 years, like 71, 2001, that's 30, 50 years. Wow. I was 18. That's right. I was going in the military because they were fighting over oil and hostages. Open quote, the misconception that massive amounts of golds were confiscated and melted down is contradicted by the fact that significant quantities of pre 1933 gold remain in private hands today. In short, it the order was more about controlling gold hoarding and stabilizing the currency than about aggressively stripping individuals of their gold. Notice that gold coins and bills are not mentioned, as was the case in 33. Only one person was ever tried for not turning in gold, and that was a lawyer who said, I don't have to turn it in. I'm not going to. Well, yeah, he got in trouble, so he did it. But doesn't it, if they didn't have the gold and they said they were buying time, oh, we're gathering the gold, we'll pay it back. They knew they were going to end up faking it. Once they gave back France their gold, how much was left? They didn't confiscate as much as we thought. Off the standard for decades, the US issues this kind of money backed by decree, Latin for let it be done. They didn't get this one right. This was a screenshot of somebody learning about, well, I was learning how much gold was confiscated in 1933. That was me. Well, I hope I left this one up. So here's a couple of people that didn't get a chance to testify in court to their most serious charges once their cover was blown. They both have the same chin. He's just turned at an angle. Uh, this was a setup. It was like, here's the illegal content that they found in Epstein's house back in the day. These are CD drives and other tapes and things. It looks like list. The FBI found it and photographed a bin and a drawer full of CDCs inside of Epstein's home. You see that? So it says right there, Trump did not do it. Prince Andrew did. Anyway, FBI Special Agent Kelly McGuire testified in 2019 that during the initial raid of the Epstein residence, FBI found safes with CD, computer hard drives, money, jewelry, passports, plural, for him. But they didn't have the proper warrant, did not have a valid warrant to remove the evidence. They forgot that part. So they took those pictures to say, look, we know we have the list. A few days later, when it took that long to go get the warrant, so the house was left open with the door taped. Who are these people? They look familiar. Not her, and this guy. The FBI did find time to invest in dozens of parents who, criticize school boards, and that happens. They had to throw in, and yeah, the FBI questioned Catholics too, because they're always the victims too, right? They want to act like they're part of mainstream society, so they throw them out there acting normal. So the the magazine Wired obtained data. I guess if you want to track somebody and you want to know, you just get their phone location and you can buy it. And if you pay the right money, you'll get everybody's phone that comes in contact with you will be listed that's in the same area. Wired obtained data exposing coordinates of 6,400 cell phones, signals that pinpoint the location and movements of hundreds of visitors to Jeffrey Epstein's pedophiles island. Data brokers, how does somebody only have 2 days of after he got the President Trumpster attempted assassination was on the 12th, and by the 14th it peaked, and then it went away. And since then, nobody even knows Thomas Crook's name, or that that's the same name as one of the famous, those guys back with V for Vendetta, that thing. Those guys. Thomas Crook, they found 10 electronic people that they traced. And some of them, took them within a few blocks of the FBI. And these are people only checked on 10 that were pinged at his work and at his home. One of them found a device that was linked to Crook's work that traveled to Butler, Pennsylvania on July 4th and July 8th. This device stopped all activity on July 12th. Now, I think that's the day before, or so that's how they do it. Someone who regularly visited Crook's home and work also visited a building 3 blocks from the FBI's place in Washington, D.C. I'm not putting anything out of the question. How about those rocks? Were they crying out to you? I hope they were. Hey, thanks everybody for showing up. How you guys doing? It's me, Salt Paco. Hi. Hey, Rocky, long time no see. Are you finally ready to get away from the Trumpster? There, I didn't mean to call that out, but it sure did heal fast, didn't it, Mr. Paul? That was the fastest healing bullet wound in the world. Hey, we're going to get to a lot of interesting stuff. We can't cover it all. It's going to start out kind of like a mud flood video,
Connection to the rest of the country. But its sudden decline leaves a question mark. What triggered this sudden downfall? In 1890, St. Elmo suffered a significant blow with a devastating fire that destroyed the Sherman Silver Purchase Act in 1890.
This is it.
Fire that destroyed many buildings.
The Sherman Silver Purchase Act.
Although efforts were made to revitalize the economy with new gold discoveries in the 1890s, the town never regained its former glory. And then, additional fires and repealing of the Sherman Silver Purchase Act in
1893, and that's the one that sunk Leadville, Cloud City in their rewrite of the Star Wars about the Empire being overthrown. And then that's what the Guggenheim cashed in. He sold out a week before the bottom went out. He sold out the top, and with his millions, he became friends with the Rothschilds. He's a Guggenheim. It's the Guggenheim Museum. Peggy Guggenheim started the Andy Warhol, Jackson Pollock modern art thing for a reason.
These towns serve as silent witness to bygone times and forgotten stories. One such town is St. Elmo, a mining town in Colorado that encapsulated that notion of the Wild West and the gold rush through its legacy of hardship and betrayal. So stay tuned as we discover the rise and fall of St. amid westward expansion during the Colorado.
And it was basically Masons that lie to people and then kill them later with their somehow they're friends with Mormons, and they invited people from Europe over and didn't tell them that their land was occupied. What are you going to do?
Had a wife named Jenny. After several
Town, he lost it all gambling. Who believes that?
Anyhow, he wagered his brother's mine, Jenny, and in a wrong move, he lost it. Knowing the potential of that mine, he doubled down and tried to win it back by betting his brother's mine, but this, of course, was to no avail. That same night, in a drunken stupor,
So that's how the town gets founded. It had 50 mines. It brought in all types of Europeans.
time. Although Senator John Sherman was not its author, he did play a crucial role in its enactment, only to later express disagreement with its content. So basically, these fluctuations in gold and silver prices, along with the gradual depletion of more accessible deposits, led to a decline in the profitability of mines in Chalk Creek in the early 20th century.
And the rest is history. This was so interesting. I wish I could share it all.
His reference Bible, a King James Bible filled with commentary and footnotes on the same page meant to explain the text. But interestingly, Scofield had no formal theological training to speak of, no seminary degree. In fact,
although he's listed as a doctor of divinity right there on the cover,
Scofield was a pathological liar, a fraud, and a deadbeat who abandoned his family. And yet somehow, this guy was able to create one of the most influential books of the 20th century, a book that convinced generations of evangelicals that the return of the Jews to Palestine was a fulfillment of biblical prophecy, and that unwavering support for the modern state of Israel was part of God's plan for the end of the world.
like voting for Trump because he knows those guys. He's friends with them.
So how does a man like this end up shaping the faith of an entire nation?
He's a Freemason, and he got set up, and he married into the right family, and the rest is history.
Massachusetts. And he came to Kansas during this period to tip the balance permanently in favor of Boston politics. And with Scofield now working under him, Scofield was likely grafted into this network. So when he arrived in Kansas, he wasn't just getting mentored by a random attorney. He was being brought into a network that had already demonstrated its willingness to use any means necessary.
Yeah, man.
Violence,
yikes,
to achieve get this smoothed over. But it didn't happen. And by the end of 1874, Scofield had abandoned everything. He fled Kansas and left behind his wife and his children, left them poor, and then he vanished from the public life.
And for 3 years later, he came back with a story about being saved by the Lord, and he wrote a Bible. He ended up in jail for a little bit.
Canada. But regardless, this period remains relatively ambiguous until his supposed conversion. It might seem mean, honestly, to say supposed conversion, but I think once you hear the details, it's fine. Around 1870,
this was all white America being reinforced. It's okay to be white and have servants and have white baseball leagues, black baseball leagues. It's the way things were in America. We had eugenic laws. We had the one drop rule, and everybody's cool with it. Even though a lot of these people probably are trying, say, oh, don't check too close on me. I look white.
9 or 1880, it's alleged that Scofield had undergone a dramatic conversion to Christianity, being led to faith by a man named Tom McPheeters. Now, who was McPheeters? So, Tom McPheeters was a successful and respected evangelical businessman from a prominent St. Louis family, a man who had a reputation for being both deeply devout and very discerning, only working with the most capable.
So he works this thing, how did he end up dealing with a convicted criminal, wife deserter, alleged violent past
into the public eye? After all, if this was a genuine conversion experience, why was he still neglecting his abandoned family, right? Why didn't he go back to his family and make things right? And also, why didn't he make things right with the law? Why was he allowing these mysterious benefactors to solve his legal problems? This is all confusing and ambiguous, but what we do know for certain is that by 1880, Scofield had somehow become connected with Reverend James H. Brooks. So Brooks was one of the most prominent voices in American evangelicalism.
Amazing. And you don't believe in coincidences? Neither do I.
Through Brooks, Scofield was introduced into Moody's inner circle. This is the weird part here, right? So barely a few
I mean, as if it all isn't weird.
months earlier, Scofield was writing false checks and committing fraud, and now he's becoming a part of D.L. Moody's evangelism crusade. If you don't know, D.L. Moody is the guy in evangelicalism, right? He was incredibly popular. He was like the Billy Graham of that day. He was the most famous evangelist at the end of the 19th century. And yet, somehow, despite his shady past, lack of formal training, Cyrus Scofield found himself being one of Moody's key
It's just like the guy who wrote Late Great Planet Earth. Wow.
cultural influencers, right? It wasn't just like
Cultural
any drinking
influences.
beer with the bros kind of thing. This was a big deal, right? The membership included former presidents like Grover Cleveland and Teddy Roosevelt, and media figures like Joseph Pulitzer or Mark Twain, even. It was a lot of big names. And somehow, Scofield was nominated to be a part of that. Right, this is prior to making his reference Bible, which came out in 2009. He was admitted in 2001. And there's no way that he could have afforded it. There was membership fees and there was annual dues plus the costs of.
So I don't want to beat the dead horse too much, but everything about Zionism was all part of Satan's plan. How much is true? We don't know.
What the fuck?
So the backstory is these guys had, you know, they were partying a little bit, and they let off some fireworks in the house, and the neighbors called. Okay, he was just shot 4 times. Came out with his hands up and he shot 4 times, and I never knew there's so many channels like this that just show. Oh, oh no, he's got a camera. He's like he lived.
Later, in March of 2023, after the surveillance video surfaced publicly and contradicted the official narrative. In June 2023, Mr. Clover filed a 195-page federal
Court in Western District of North Carolina.
Clover's attorney shared that there's unreleased body cam footage that he has reviewed that will come out at the trial that he says shows his client laying on the ground.
You forcefully entered her home and attacked her. Is this a joke?
This woman called the cops.
Oh, thank God.
And accused a guy of kicking down her door and assaulting her.
So what happened?
He kicked in the door. I ran. He choked me out.
But there was a minor problem with her story. The suspect has been a paraplegic in a wheelchair for 20 plus years.
How long have you been in your wheelchair?
Since I was 18.
Since you were 18?
5 years.
But the arresting officer just didn't care, and he attempted to arrest him anyways.
I literally can't. I don't have muscle control. I'm not. Oh my God. Oh my God.
When another officer stepped in and questioned what was happening,
If you're paralyzed, somebody must have made a mistake. Because if the door was kicked in, he didn't kick it in.
he went to his lieutenant.
Don't mean to interrupt your lunch. They got a quadriplegic guy up there in handcuffs.
Who couldn't be bothered to get up off of his chair, but quickly accused the 100% innocent man who was in fact a paraplegic of lying.
Yeah, but it's phony wash.
It's a ruse, man.
So
I mean, it's an obvious attempt to not to go to jail. So
Yeah, but he is up from the waist below.
I've never seen a case where somebody was so clearly innocent and it would take so little work to establish it, and nobody was willing to do the work.
Not in dispute. The driver then explained to the deputy that he was unaware that flashing his headlights as a warning to other drivers was illegal.
I didn't know that was a crime.
It doesn't say daytime or nighttime. It just says that you can't do it, and you did it.
You know that no traffic violation is a crime. It's not a criminal act. It's to not signal. It's not a crime. You can get a ticket, but it's not a crime. So this guy, gets thrown down.
Jerk away from me, sir.
Just be careful.
Don't jerk away from me.
My wallet is in the car.
Okay, I don't want you to jerk away from me right there.
I was going away from the traffic.
No, I was putting you in front of my car.
Okay.
Which is away from traffic.
You're arresting me for laughing.
No.
I didn't do anything.
I'm arresting you for unsigned registration.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Okay, so stand right there. Hang tight in front of my vehicle for me. Hang tight right here in front of my vehicle for me.
The plaintiff was then forced to stay in handcuffs for several minutes along the busy Route 19 before eventually Deputy Ellis.
It's our world.
Until Stansted in London called this the extraordinary privilege, and he effectively tried to call America on its bluff by actually taking their stockpile of American dollars and converting them back into gold. His successor, President Pompidou, would eventually sail a battleship into New York Harbor to collect the gold owed to them. He would become the benchmark for measuring countries.
This is that gay guy I was telling you about. This is how recently our capitalist economy has been working this way.
Economies. It's impressive stuff, since they also reportedly managed to squeeze in a few hundred rounds of golf, but even all of that wasn't actually the big news. The namesake agreement of this economic powwow was a plan to set the exchange rates of participating countries' currencies to the American dollar, and then the American dollar itself would be set to a specific amount of physical gold. It was a good deal, but I should make it clear that only other central banks were allowed to make this trade. American citizens weren't allowed to own gold as a store of value at all. The American Fed at the time was pretty flush with gold since 11 years earlier, in 1933, they demanded that their own people hand over almost...
Oh, you're getting the idea?
Came clear that the Americans were getting a slightly better deal than everyone else. In theory, their currency was convertible for physical gold. But since other central banks rarely exercised this right, the Americans could spend a few pennies printing a piece of paper that every other country would have to give them $100 worth of stuff for in exchange. The president of France at the time, Charles de Gaulle, whose name was given to the world's worst airport in the history of humanity, until Stansted in London, called this the extraordinary privilege, and he effectively tried to call America on its bluff by actually taking their stockpile of American dollars and converting them back into gold. His successor, President Pompidou, would eventually sail a battleship into New York Harbor to collect...
So is this another reason that United States, we hate France, they're bad. So I looked up Charles de Gaulle, got close to the spelling, I really wanted to see Pompidou though. So I got him from going to the de Gaulle, and it was hard for me to reconcile that General Charles de Gaulle of the French Resistance Army, the exiled government of France, was from even before the United Nations was saying, wait a minute, what's this petrodollar? It's not fair. And it took till 1971 something else was, Vietnam was happening, and didn't the United States take over for France and Indochina there? So again, he just wanted his money back, and they don't mention it in here. There's no real, if it is, it's in passing, something that big. So I had to type in, took back gold. Oh yeah, it was 1971. I'm like, okay. I didn't know it tied in that directly to the Bretton Woods, how France secretly repatriated all its gold before Nixon's dollar devaluation. So did they get a heads up? They repatriated 3,313 tons of gold. So they were cashing in 44 trips, 129 flights to bring home the 3,000 tons of gold. So it wasn't only the battleship was the last of them saying, we want every single one. The last 211 or something, to me, it's the fact that it was so hard to find. I wanted to look for the plan. Well, it tells you a little bit about it, but Wikipedia doesn't have an article on it. And Wikipedia is supposed to be the people's voice. They did have something here, Goldstein, but it's not Wikipedia. There's the town. Nothing about, we went to pick up the gold and exposed the fiat money. Nothing in Wikipedia, nothing in it. What else do we have here? So this is the town, I guess, where they signed it, Victory Square. Did you know that the different languages, it's different? And I noticed in the center of Victory Square, which was another one to find it, it's hard to get a picture of who they say is Louis the 14th, the Sun King of France, come on. This is France. There's the Sun King, Louis the 14th, the center of the square. I don't think so. What you got on your feet? Not French, not like the pictures we see of Louis the 14th. So they build them out like Washington, D.C. They're all in it together. It's all a plan. I guess I wanted to find out more about this and the actual statue designed and executed by Bernini. And of course, it's nothing like the actual Sun King. Him. See, here's the Sun King. He looks like, do these pantaloons make your butt look big? It's so gay, in a way. In the Bible, gay is not a good thing. So does that look like the same guy on the horse? There he is. Oh, they must have known. Oh, look at me. I'm the god Jupiter. Okay. Put me on it's still not the same person. I'm rolling. So here I left my algorithm to pop it in. We'll see there. I know there's going to be some bad weather. The Gilded Age, structures at the end of time, paraplegic being arrested, 10 severe warnings, no tornadoes. There's Dabu talking about Epstein.
It had the missing. It has the missing minute, and it shows Hillary fucking walking into the.
Okay, that's pretty good one. So there's that picture. I wanted to make sure that that's like a fascista or something. There he is. It's supposed to be a copy of this one. They made a marble one of him too. That's supposed to be the Sun King, Louis XIV. Anyway, they were all involved in Physiocracy. Physiocrate for the Greek government of nature, an economic theory that was overturned by capitalism. This, though, was developed in the Age of Enlightenment, not a good sign. They believe that the wealth of nations derives solely from the value of land agriculture or land development. So I think, that was probably closeted talk for you need more land. Wealth of Nations, 1776. Significant contribution in their emphasis on productive work. That's the Protestant work ethic, is what they call that, as the source of national wealth. Just got a yummy taste of coffee before it got too lukewarm. So this is, where it's at. It's with the money. Did you even know about these guys? I didn't. You learn so much every day. We have to realize, you remember my big brother RJ likes to say, we are being encompassed about. It's not like we're going to be. We are in the process of. We are also in the process of accepting we were brainwashed for a long time until we were born again. And then, even then, until we were mature enough to understand what in the world is going on. What's going on? What's going on?
How much gold was confiscated in 1933 in the United States? To do so, we will compare old U.S. Mint gold coin mintage numbers versus the 1933 to 1939 melt data in order to surmise an estimate as to how much physical gold was turned in and melted down from Executive Order 6102 in 1933.
Really?
I think
for the gold standard for 200. Under the gold standard, the value of this circulating money, from the Latin for to run, is linked directly to gold. Rachel.
What is currency?
That's the word.
Gold standard 400.
In 1821, Britain became the first adopter of the gold standard, dropping this metal from its bimetallic system. Del?
What is silver?
That's it.
The gold standard 600.
Advocates say the standard acts as a check on this, caused by excessive issue of paper money. Del.
What is inflation?
You are right.
Gold standard 800.
To combat the Depression, FDR moved the United States off the standard shortly after taking office in this year. Elected in 32, took office in 1933. Del, back to you.
Let's finish gold standard.
Off the standard for decades, the U.S. issues this kind of money backed by decree, Latin for let it be done.
Man, come on, you guys.
People use the modern spot gold price today of $1,800 versus $20.67 an ounce paid out back then. So that comes to about 27.4%, or just slightly over a fourth of all until that year, 1933, circulating gold coins the U.S. Mint had issued were returned and paid for and later melted down. That means nearly 3/4 of the U.S. Mint gold coins circulating at the time of the order went into hiding and long-term savings.
Thank you.
And these figures, U.S. Treasury to control the dollar's value without the assistance or approval of the Fiat Federal Reserve, and authorize the president to establish the gold value of the dollar by proclamation.
How much Big Brother world were they? They didn't even know the president was in a wheelchair. He was in a wheelchair, but everybody thought he was cool. Let's go dancing. Okay, but I'm in a wheelchair. What?
Amended in 1978, the Exchange Stabilization Fund is basically now only under the purview of the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury with the approval of the president. Of course, the ESF may deal in gold, foreign exchange, and other instruments of credit and securities the Secretary considers necessary. Basically, it's a sweeping top-down law.
Now you're just getting boring, dude.
Nature. They did. We don't say they believed only free white persons should ever be citizens of the United States. They did.
What?
That's not revisionism. All of the things in the context of the broader world in which they lived.
Oh, that's the Atlantean history style. This will be my last backup for 2 minutes.
And don't romanticize these people. Don't romanticize that moment. Take them seriously on their terms. Read what they wrote. Study what they built. Understand all of the things in the context of the broader world in which they lived. Listen to what they said about who should be free and who shouldn't. We don't say they wanted a white ethno-state. They did. We don't say they opposed democracy. They did. We don't say they believed black people were inferior by nature. They did. We don't say they believed only free white persons should ever be citizens of the United States. They did. That's not revisionism. That's taking them at their word. That's not a modern imposition. That's fidelity to their record.
See, what he's forgetting is he's leaving out the part about the light on the hill and the manifest destiny. Oh, that was, about 30 seconds.
Built a republic on that logic. They made peace with slavery easily. Why? Because it made them money. They dismissed indigenous sovereignty because land meant profit. At every moment when inclusion was possible, they said no. Not because they didn't understand equality, but because they did. And they were afraid of it. They wanted to remain in charge of choosing who it should exclude.
Now, this goes against a lot that I know many people believe, but we know we've been lied to. How recently, and what are they trying to do? When did they change it from, okay, now it's white men and we should have men who want to be women, and then we'll all be happy. Kind of like that now.
He's not cruel. He's not wrong. He's not a criminal. He's just complicated. If a white man enslaved a woman, exploits her body, sells her children, is that complicated? If a politician builds his reputation on liberty while presiding over a forced labor camp for his own personal economic benefit, is that nuance? Every time a historian says they were men of their time, they're telling you exactly who they're trying to protect. And we see this protection instinct in how we commemorate them. You don't wear t-shirts with the names of Auschwitz architects. You don't quote them on TikTok. You don't bring your kids to their homes like they're national shrines. So why do we still do it for the architects of Monticello and Mount Vernon? Why are we still quoting Jefferson on liberty when he wrote that black people were inferior and couldn't live in a free society with whites? And when he enslaved his own children? He's a hero. He's somebody we should emulate. Do we just carve out the more complicated parts of his?
Does this guy know that he was in the Hellfire Club and the Freemasons and everything? And he had the power. They had ulterior motives.
They didn't misunderstand democracy. They feared it. They didn't fail to end slavery. They preserved it. They weren't men of contradiction. They were men of conviction. And they were absolutely clear-eyed about the costs because they believed those costs would be paid by somebody else. So this Independence Day, maybe stop pretending. Maybe declare your own independence from the lies being foisted upon you by apologists for the last 200 years. Understand America clearly so we can see where we might go together.
I don't think this guy has any idea where we're going. Thacker West Mine. So, Thacker West lithium mine. Let's copy that. Go back here and see that a year ago, this was going to be the biggest thing in the world. They were going to make so much money. I'm looking for one about a year ago.
Lithium is essential to modern life. It is the most critical element in the batteries that are electrifying the automobile and transportation industries. It is revolutionizing
Interesting.
that occur globally, though most do not have as much.
This is a type of clay. Now, what they're banking everything on is that this other type of clay that they're going to show will produce more lithium. It hasn't been done yet.
Lithium because they did not form inside of a caldera. Smectites from the McDermott caldera average about 0.3% lithium metal, whereas other smectite deposits are generally 0.1% lithium metal. As the lake continued to accumulate lithium-rich smectite, the magma chamber began to once again show signs of life. In a process called magmatic resurgence, the center of the caldera began to rise, uplift, and fracture the overlying tuffs and sediments. Although this magma did not make it
You just give us a quick overview.
The Thacker Pass project is the largest known lithium deposit in the United States, situated in Humboldt County, northern Nevada, sitting at the southern end of the 16-million-year-old McDermott caldera. Digging will progress from west to east and will be concurrently backfilled with the non-lithium containing sand and gravel. When completed, the site will be reclaimed and able to be used in the
Right, they'll just turn it into a golf course or something. So there's that. Thacker Pass. It's going to be lithium. Lithium in itself is just crazy, right? Heat resistant, used in ceramics, lithium grease, lubricants, flux additives for iron, and of course, lithium ion batteries. As you know, we all got one right now in your pocket or you're looking at it. I'm using mine from a laptop. Chemical element. They used to use it to make people feel better too, but now it's staged thermonuclear weapons. It's a fusion point for it. Transmutation into helium. So they could go up and away, my beautiful balloon. So you got to keep it floating in oil or it might catch on fire. Somehow it produces its own oxygen, like lithium batteries produce their own oxygen, so they really burn a lot. We're not going to have time to listen to Nirvana or Lithium, but you know, so it's like gold at first came from outer space, maybe. I'm not sure they know that. Used as a medicine, its salt are classified as a mood stabilizer, but people used it for gout and epilepsy. Its use in the treatment of mental disorders began very recently, who treated people with mania. I don't think it worked out too good. Not effective in a number of other conditions, including schizophrenia. I don't know if this was one of those recreational drugs or not. I don't know. I'm not really into that. Mania, a syndrome, bipolar, manic, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. It is so big. It used to be like 10 pages. It said, being gay is weird. Wait, it said something like that, didn't it? Somebody run that check for me. What is exactly involuntary commitment? Whether it's to jail if they don't shoot you, because you have to comply. Is there something you don't want to comply with? Because they're going to make you comply. You're gonna have to eat what they say you eat because you're in jail. Or you've had a flood, or somehow they wanted to, you're gonna be committed somewhere. And they have the purpose. Going back, you can be found incompetent. What if you believe in a flat earth or something like the Bible? They could just say, this guy seemed like he wanted to hurt himself. How would, if this man is having a psychotic episode, how do you prove, no, I'm not? So the early 1800s, state-led effort to declare who's mentally ill and take care of them. You can read that however you want. Shaftesbury wanted to give them the shaft, so they did. It's, ladies and gentlemen, it's their asylums. They needed an excuse. They found it. Satan planned this. This is a good explanation for Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age past, mud flood was Armageddon. And in the meantime, everything you have, you eat, sleep with, touches you, is, stick in your, your woohoo. It's everywhere. And women, they're trying to attack your thyroid. I've told you, and instead you want to think that you can train like Angelina Jolie and beat up the offensive line for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to beat you all up at the same time with my karate kicking. PFAS, they're everywhere. I first noticed the signs when I was marching at Fort Bragg in 1980. But like, wow, what do you mean you're throwing PCPs on the side of the road, and now they're in our brain. They're in the rainwater. Everything has them now. There's no coming back from this. So we'll look at this word, line. The line of Samaria, the circumference. This is the basin in the tabernacle, 30 feet around. Who stretched the line upon it? Their line has gone out. It's really Isaiah 28, right? Line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. It has to be like that. It's the measuring line. He stretched out a line. Psalm 19:1. Their word, their voice, their message goes out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them, he has set a tent for the sun. And most of us, I know I do, I try to teach, maybe I don't enough, but that whole tabernacle in the wilderness that they show as a rectangle, there is no way that it's not, a dome, a dome. The tabernacle in the wilderness is that line. Ezekiel 47:3. Going on eastward with a measuring line in his hand, the man measured 1,000 cubits and then led me through the water. From verse 1, then he brought me back to the door of the temple, and behold, water was issuing from below the threshold of the temple toward the east, for the temple faced the east. The water was flowing down from the south end of the threshold of the temple, south of the altar. So it's coming back toward the east, going eastward. He measured it. It's ankle deep. It's 1,000. He leads through the water. It's knee deep. This is a wide, wide river. The river flows all this way, and it kept getting deeper and deeper. It was deep enough to swim in, a river that could not be passed through. Now, I know that at this stage and at this point in life, it's hard for the narrow road to grasp the unending river of life flowing out of him. And it's stored in our living stones. We can build up gold, silver, and precious stones. It says, once you're saved by grace, you've been given talents, and he's going to judge you on how good you did with those talents. And if you do it good, you build up gold, silver, and precious stones. That's why I was showing you those pictures of the rocks. It's all part of the same thing. They're crying out. They're reserved in judgment. Rocks are basically water. Water divided by water. They're reserved in judgment. We're made from their dust, their erats. Is it any wonder that the Kabbalah and the deceivers would want you to think that, oh, the Bible talks about the stuff that's in your body and everything else, but they don't believe that Jesus Christ really was stabbed while he was on a cross and blood hit the ground. They believe that, but they don't act like it. They don't want you to think they don't know it, but that's why they're doing the CERN, the Hadron Colliders. They want to find that element, think they can synthesize it so that they can quit killing the children and leaving a trail of mayhem behind. But this is Satan's short season. Our orphan-trained brains are catching on. Here a little, there a little. We're not going to don't get worked up. Things are going to keep going on. As soon as I showed how quickly we forgot about the man who tried to assassinate President Trump, Thomas Crooks, and his weird thing, he's off the radar, like Sandy Hook, like the Boston Marathon Massacre, like 9/11. It's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else because we are desperately trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame.